Hey everybody, today's video is going to be about a paddle reachable reef system. One of the things that people don't realize is that the actual keys are surrounded by flats. We don't really have like a deep water system around the keys. You have to go fairly long distances. For example, to get to more than a depth of 40-50 foot, you have to go to the outside of the reef, which is almost 6 miles from the shoreline. So realistically, for the paddle boarders, the kayakers, something like that is really not realistic to be able to do. For this video, I'm going to kind of show a couple of spots where I basically cut my teeth on learning how to reef fish, because I found a couple of spots that had that exact reef buildup and ecosystem, but yet only about 1.5 miles away from the launch. Now these spots are actually very unique because they're in 25 foot of water with rises of coral heads and corals and rock fountain formations that run up to within 7 foot of the surface level. And other than that, it's surrounded by miles and miles of just sandy bottom, nothing out there. So they're extremely good fish magnets, so great areas to fish as well. They are based out of the Sammy Creek launch, which is basically on Old State Road 4A off of the Sugarloaf. And it's a beautiful launch, and it gives you a direct access right out to these two spots. Another great aspect about this launch and those two spots is that from the launch you can look out and you can see a tower out in the middle of the water. That tower is the American Shoals Tower. And basically it's a marker point for the edge of the reef, the outside edge of the reef, where it starts dropping off and going out to the deep water. What made it so excellent is that I would go out and paddle out to these two spots. I could fish those. If conditions looked good and I felt up to it, I knew exactly how far I would have to go to get to the reef. So you can actually have a visible endpoint. And mentally, that's a huge thing when you can know how much farther you have to go rather than just a blank ocean out there. So it just made it a lot convenient for me to get out to the reef and not have to worry about how much farther I have to go and should I go or should I go back and so forth. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and jump on the computer now and bring up a couple of maps so you can kind of check out these areas that I'm talking about. And you can use those to do some research as well. Then I'm going to go ahead and head out on the water, do some filming, and what I'll do is I'll film the GPS fish finder that I've got, and it'll give the waypoints, so you can utilize those to plug into a handheld or your plotter or your cell phone and be able to find these spots fairly easily. So let's go. Here's a general overview of the area. This is Sugarloaf and the turnoff that you would take to the dead end, and you would head west on Old State Road 4A. There's only the one bridge, so just before the bridge, and this is the Sammy Creek, and then this is the Sammy Creek Park. They call it Sammy Creek Landing. And the areas that we're going to target are actually these darker colored little patches. This is one here, and this is one here. In the video, I'm actually starting off over here in the first spot, and then coming to this one is number 2, and then this one is the third one. This one here, although it's more pronounced, is actually not a very high elevated area. It is a nice little patch area with a lot of rough bottom to take a look at. So worthwhile to take a look if you wanted to. And utilizing the Navionics web app. So we've got the Sammy Creek Landing to the third spot is 1.63 miles. The second one was about 1.5 miles. There is a channel marker that's very visible, especially when you get out to this one and it's not too far away, and that signifies the inner or the beginning of the patch reefs. And if you were to look out farther, and this is highly visible even from the shoreline, you'll see the American Shoals Tower sticking out of the water there. And like I said, that distinguishes the end of the reef line. So anyways, that is the areas that we're going to be targeting. Check the video and it gives the specific waypoint, so you could plug those in and get the exact locations.
Okay, here we are at the Sammy Creek Landing. So this is going to be our launch spot. Lots of parking because you could park on the sides of the road, no problem. And the only issue is that they have it gated, so you have to fit underneath the gate there or walk around. But the launch is right there, so it's not very far, not very inconvenient. But you can see how beautiful this spot is. It's managed very well, and not a lot of people know about it. If you watch that other video, I'll put the link in the back on the end screen, but you'll see all the directions and info about it. But nice little picnic area and just excellent views. These guys are all out probably snorkeling and lobstering, but this is the basic launch right here. I think they originally wanted it to be a boat launch, so it's heavy duty, but then they just blocked it off for maintenance so they don't have to keep up with it. But excellent launch. That way it goes out to the ocean where we're going to go find our spots, and this way it goes up into the channels and all the way up to the flats. So that's our spot. Okay, so the plan of attack, we're going to take you out the boat channel where that jet ski is at, and there's 3 of these reef spots that are in close. So we're going to go hit those. I'm going to be using my Lawrence GPS to find them, and then I'll put coordinates so you'll have them. But that's the plan. Okay, here's the map on the GPS of my Lawrence fish finder. We started basically here at the Stevens Creek launch. I'm currently right here in that black arrow, and what we're going to be targeting are these rings, and what those are rises in the bottom structure. So the more rings, the higher the rise. The tighter the ring, the more steep it is. So like right now where we're at, there's just a single ring, maybe like a foot elevation difference. I'd say that's good for lobstering, but not really for fishing because we're surrounded by only 5 or 6 feet, 5 to 10 feet. I think we're 10. But the second one and the third one here are in 20 to 25 foot, and it's got multiple rings. This one is 3 rings, and it goes from 25 foot up to 7 foot in that confined space. So those are the structures that we're looking for and we're going to hit today. All right, we're coming up to our second spot. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but you can see the dark area patch all right around in here as we get closer to it. And that's basically the uprising, the coral heads here. And we should be coming up on it. Yeah, there's the rises. So we're at 25 to, should get up to under 10 foot. Yep, and then we're just passing over it now. So this is one of the second spots here with the double rings. Okay, we're anchored right over the spot. I'm going to hit enter twice, and that's going to save that waypoint. And that's the number there, 2434,905 by 8134,448. And then here's a blown up view of it. So we've got these different ranges there. So outside edge is a 20 plus foot. I think I was marking 27 on the outside of it. And then it goes up to 7 foot within these 2 rings. So let's take a look downstairs and see what it looks like.
So as you can tell, these spots accumulate a lot of fish, because otherwise, like towards the end of the clip there where it just turned to sand, that was 27 feet. The surrounding area all around is just white sand, nothing. So these little spots that pop up, especially these bigger ones, are fish magnets. Now my strategy for fishing them would definitely be coming out here. You gotta have an anchor, okay? Throwing lures, throwing baits, and just keep drifting across is not worthwhile. What you wanna do is you wanna come out here with an anchor, chum and chum bag, okay? I keep saying it 1,000 times until you listen to me. You wanna go to the upside of the current so that the chum is gonna flow right over this rocky area. You don't wanna be right on top of it. You want to be kind of farther out in the deeper white sand, because sometimes you'll run into like that strawberry grouper. The groupers will grab your baits and go right into the rocks. By chumming, it pulls those bigger fish away from these rocky areas out into the open, so you have a fighting chance, okay? And believe me, when you chum, everything in this whole area is going to be right behind you, and that's why it's so effective to do that. A huge key, okay, is just like my lobstering techniques, it's patience, okay? Don't rush, don't get all super excited and start throwing stuff out right away and just dropping your anchor and that's it. Drop your anchor, pitch out a couple of chunks of bait or let the chum bag out, and watch how that is flowing. If it's not perfectly right over the structure, okay, pull up anchor, move to the right spot. If it anchors up and you're too close to it, pull up anchor, back off a bit until you're in the perfect spot. Get that chum going. Don't start fishing right away. Give it 10-15 minutes of free food, okay? They get their guard down, and then throw a line out at them. Very important. Okay, we're at spot number 2, and you can definitely see the coral heads and reef here. This is the spot there. Let me make a waypoint for it so you can see that's north 2434 786. By 8133 834. And this is a triple ringer, just for the sake that you can, it's coming up so high. Yeah, this gets up to within 7 foot, surrounded by the 23s. So almost the same setup as the other one. So let's take a look and see what we see. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you happen to be coming down to the lower keys and you've got your kayak or paddleboard, definitely think about giving this area a shot. The only precautions I would give is that you really need to know your limits and be very aware of the weather conditions, especially the wind. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye.